If I can't rely on the news or outside information, what metrics should I focus on to make a directional play? I'm just trying to develop a mechanical system to determine if an underlying is too rich or too cheap.
It's easy for us as contrarians. We usually just take the opposite of what the stock has been doing recently. So if I looked at JP Morgan, and it's why Tom and I both looked at it and said, wow, I would have thought it would have gone higher on earnings just because it's price. It's priced so low. I know the market's been a little bit soft too. There's been a lot softer than the market. I would have thought the pot odds were to the upside. I mean, that's the way we look at it. It's a 50-50 shot. You find your style, but that's what we do.
People ask us all the time, they're like, why are you a contrarian? And they're like, what is a contrarian? And a contrarian is basically somebody that, we kind of grew up in this business doing the opposite of what anybody else wanted to do. Because if you're a market maker, if you want to buy something, we sell it to you. If you want to sell something, we buy it from you, right? That's the business. Sure. Yeah. So, you're contrarian to the order flow at that point. Mm-hmm. But with respect to information, you kind of grow up in this industry as a little bit of a skeptic. And so if something's going up, you want to sell it. If something's going down, you kind of want to buy it. That's just the way we think. But what I've always told people, and I believe it too, is by being a contrarian, it takes the guesswork out of trying to say, I'm trying to figure out something. This takes the guesswork out of it. You're basically letting everybody else figure everything out and then just taking the other side. I mean, of course, sometimes I try to determine if an underlying is, in my opinion, too rich or too cheap. But there is no such thing as a truly mechanical system that is not, quantitative in nature. You're trying to, I think, combine the words mechanical with something that's very subjective. And even a contrarian approach is very subjective. But we don't really focus on what I would say are traditional metrics. We focus on volatility, which gives us context around expected move. And then we try to create strategies around that. And we just, on our own, determine whether or not we think something is too rich or too cheap based on, price extreme. And, we're watching stuff all the time, but you never really know. I mean, yesterday, as an example, I thought bonds were too cheap. So we got a little bit long them and it worked for a few hours. I mean, I thought JP Morgan was too cheap last night and it actually went $5 lower this morning. So you don't know.
Right,
like you just, you don't know. I thought the market was too cheap. Yesterday it rallied up huge and I was like, okay, this is good. Then it sold off huge. I'm like,
you also looked at the put skew in JP Morgan and said, that also fits my assumption.
That's right.
The pricing of the options are a little bit richer so that it fits my assumption.
Tasty trade is very mechanical in what we talk about, but the directional assumptions, it's a very subjective system. We use the contrarian logic, but sure.